The sun was just rising over a quiet rural road on the outskirts of Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. A dusty breeze swept across the fields as the village slowly came to life. Birds chirped from the mango trees, and a few farmers began their daily routines, unaware that today would become part of history. At the same moment, a black SUV convoy cruised along the narrow road. Inside one of the bulletproof vehicles sat President Ibrahim Traoré, eyes fixed out the window, deep in thought. He was returning from a secret night meeting with military advisors, away from the public eye. Security was tight, but the route they chose was supposed to be low risk, remote, and silent. That's when it happened. Just ahead of the lead vehicle, a lone cow wandered into the middle of the road. She stood still, staring blankly at the approaching cars. The driver slammed on the brakes, tires screeching as dust clouded the air. The entire convoy came to a halt. "Move it!" one guard shouted, stepping out and waving his arms. But the cow wouldn't budge. She just stood there, calm, stubborn, and unmoving. The guards were confused and frustrated. They had no idea that this single moment of pause caused by a cow was about to change everything. Less than 30 seconds later, a massive explosion erupted down the road, exactly where the convoy would have been if they hadn't stopped. The ground shook violently. Birds scattered into the sky. Flames roared, and a shockwave sent a pulse of fear through everyone present. The team quickly moved into action, forming a protective shield around the president. But the realization hit them like a punch to the chest. They had just narrowly escaped an ambush. Someone had planted a roadside bomb, and had the cow not blocked the way, President Ibrahim Traoré would have driven straight into it. The cow stood unfazed, blinking slowly. No one said a word for several seconds, and then one of the soldiers whispered, "Sir, that cow just saved your life." President Traoré stepped out of his vehicle slowly, brushing off his suit jacket. Dust hung thick in the air, and the smell of burning metal drifted from the explosion site ahead. His eyes locked on the cow still standing in the road, as if she had been sent for a reason. The security chief barked into his radio, "Sweep the area. Find out who did this. We may not get a second chance." The guards fanned out in all directions, weapons drawn, tension heavy. Meanwhile, the president stood in silence, his gaze never leaving the animal that had, inexplicably, become a barrier between him and death. A young soldier approached cautiously, holding a metal bowl of water. He set it near the cow. She sniffed it, then drank slowly, unbothered. "Whose cow is this, President?" Traoré asked, his voice steady but low. No one answered. Minutes later, a barefoot boy about 10 years old ran from the fields, panic in his eyes. "Maman! Where's Mamadou?" he shouted in the local dialect. When he saw the convoy and the president standing nearby, he froze, wide-eyed and trembling. "Is this your cow?" a soldier asked. The boy nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. Her name is Mamadou. She wandered off this morning. I was looking everywhere." Traoré knelt beside the boy. "Do you know what your cow just did?" The boy looked confused. The president smiled gently and placed a hand on his shoulder. "She saved my life." Word spread quickly through the region. A cow had saved the president from an assassination attempt. The village elders arrived, stunned, as the president ordered all villagers gathered. Traoré stood atop a small stone ledge. Speaking to them like one of their own today, fate stepped in through the most unexpected form, a humble cow, and a brave young boy who chased after her. He paused, letting his words settle. "I came here quietly. I wanted to listen. But this land reminded me of something greater, that true protection doesn't always come from walls, but sometimes from heart and even hooves." The crowd erupted in quiet cheers, some clapping, others praying. The boy looked up at Mamadou and whispered, "You're a hero now," and she just blinked again, chewing grass like none of it had ever happened. As the sun climbed higher, news outlets across Burkina Faso and beyond picked up the story "Cow Saves President" became the headline on every major channel. The rural village, once unknown even to locals, was now surrounded by reporters, drones, and curious onlookers. But President Traoré stayed grounded. He had only one request. "No politics today, no cameras in my face. I just want to meet the people." Instead of rushing back to the capital, He extended his stay. He visited the boy's home, a small mud brick house with a tin roof, one room, and a broken radio held together by tape. The boy's mother greeted the president with trembling hands and eyes full of disbelief. "I don't know what to say," she murmured. Traoré smiled warmly. "Then don't say anything. You raised a son who cares. That's enough." The president shared a simple breakfast with them: boiled maize, dried fish, and black tea. No guards inside, no formalities, just a conversation between a leader and his people. Outside, the villagers gathered near the big baobab tree where the elders held meetings. Children played nearby, their laughter echoing through the warm air. The cow, Mamadou, was tied to a post but treated like royalty. Someone placed a garland of wildflowers around her neck. A young girl painted a red heart on her side using natural dye. Later that afternoon, President Traoré held a quiet meeting with his inner circle. His intelligence chief handed him a folder marked classified. Inside were photos of a man believed to be behind the failed ambush, a foreign mercenary known for orchestrating chaos across West Africa. "We believe he was paid." "Handsomely," the chief said. "By who?" the president asked, frowning. "We're still tracking the source, but it's someone with access." "Someone close," Traoré exhaled deeply. "Betrayal from within. The kind that doesn't just aim to kill a man, but to collapse a nation." He stood up slowly. "Then we don't just investigate. We expose." That night, the stars blanketed the sky as the village lit a bonfire in the president's honor. But while songs played and food was passed around, President Traoré's mind stayed sharp. The cow had saved his life, yes. But now he had to save his country from the shadows within. The next morning, President Traoré rose before dawn. The village was quiet, blanketed in mist. He stood alone near Mamadou the cow, gently stroking her back. "You paused time," he whispered, "and gave me a second chance." By sunrise, the military intelligence team had already intercepted encrypted messages linking the failed assassination to a high-ranking official in the capital. Not only was this man in the president's cabinet, he had been at Traoré's side just days earlier. The betrayal cut deep. Traoré ordered an immediate but quiet investigation. No arrests yet, no panic, just silent gathering of truth. He wanted to be sure not just of the man's guilt, but of the network behind him. "If I strike too soon," he told his advisors, "the others will hide deeper." Back in the village, the atmosphere remained peaceful, but change was in motion. The president announced new infrastructure projects, better roads, schools, clinics. He also pledged land rights for local farmers and promised fair market prices. No community that guards the life of its leader should ever be forgotten. He declared the boy who owned Mamadou was offered a full scholarship, not just for school, but all the way to university. The crowd cheered as the boy stood shyly, holding a small toy car he had made from wire and bottle caps. President Traoré knelt beside him. "One day, I hope you drive a real one, maybe even design it yourself." Later that week, Traoré returned to the capital under heavy guard. But this time, he wasn't silent. In a live national address, he shared the story of the cow, the boy, the village, and the near death he had faced. Then, without warning, he revealed the name of the traitor in his cabinet. Shock swept across the nation. The man was arrested within the hour. Evidence was shown to the public. There was no cover-up, no delay. It was leadership in its rawest, most honest form. And as the country watched, the president closed with one line that echoed across airwaves. "One stubborn cow and one brave child reminded me that life is not protected by power, but by purpose." And somewhere, far from the noise of politics, Mamadou the cow rested under a mango tree, still a hero, still chewing grass, still unaware she had rewritten history